It's me. I'm back. I know it's been a very long time since I've actually had a sit down one-on-one with the camera situation, but I felt like it was time. I felt like I needed to sit down and talk to people who I virtually have spoken to prior. I'm not very good at staying consistent with YouTube and editing videos and things, but I felt like there's just a lot of stuff going on that I want to update, and yeah. So 2020 has been a wild ride for everybody, and myself included. The beginning of the year, just like I know most people were very excited about the year to come, and then just multiple events happening made us realize, ooh, 2020 is not what it's going to be. So at the beginning of the year, around February, Charlie came out here to visit me. As you may or may not know, Charlie is in the UK and I'm in California, and so we would typically see each other multiple times in a year. We'd typically see each other about at least 3 times a year. And so I saw him in February. He came out to LA to visit me, and he hadn't really been to LA. He had been to LA when we moved into the place that we were last at, and he was out here for about like a month or so, and then he came out here for just before Christmas. Then we all went to go visit my family in Nashville, and so from there I went on to London with him to go be with his family. So that was that. Then he came out in February of 2020 because we had not spent a single Valentine's Day together. I think since we've been together, I think this was the first Valentine's Day, so I set up a whole like weekend event for us. The day that he got to LA, we went to this oyster place downtown, which sounds kind of weird because it's downtown, and it was in like the arts district, which doesn't really have tons of poppin', I want to say, but at least I hadn't really noticed that there had been a lot of poppin' places. But we went to this one oyster bar situation, and we both love seafood, so that was really fun. And I took him to Two-Bit Circus, which is like an interactive arcade, which they have tons of VR stuff and video game things, which I love to play with him. And because I typically don't play like video games by myself, but I play with him occasionally, and he loves his video games, so I figured it was the best place to go. Plus I love an adult Chuck E. Cheese, which is basically what it is, because you can get drinks, and they're pouring heavy that night. No, he got double shots. Either way, it was a very fun time. And then the next day we went to Santa Monica, and we went to a candle making class, and all of these things were surprises for him. I didn't want him to know what we were doing, so that was really exciting. But yeah, we had a really good Valentine's Day weekend. Then he went to Yosemite for about a week to be with his family, because they were going to go do hiking and a bunch of nature stuff. And then he came back out, he proposed, so I'm engaged. And which is really exciting. And then I started my previous job that I had left before the end of 2019 because they weren't going to give me the time off that I needed to go see him and for him to visit my family and all that. So I quit. And then I wasn't necessarily planning on going back, but they had given me a raise, and I figured that it was a better option than just doing Postmates like I was doing before. So I went back there. I started back there the week that Charlie got back, I started back there the week Charlie was leaving. So he proposed to me, I think the night before he left. And so I took him to the airport when I got off work, and that was sad. And yeah, then the next week, that next Monday, lockdown happened, and the restaurant I was working at shut the fuck down. So that was done, and I was really excited to be on unemployment because they were giving more money out weekly for unemployment, so I wasn't stressing about making sure I was making money and paying rent and paying for my bills and things, because it was basically being covered, and I was getting almost the same amount that I would have made at my previous job anyway, so I figured no stressing. I got heavily into spirituality and herbal remedies and things like that, and building my immune system because Rona. Shout out to Hood Healer on Instagram and Twitter, because she kept everything on point as far as like the amount of information that she was sharing was very pivotal for me, and it put a lot of things into perspective for myself. So yeah, grateful for her for that. And I just started dabbling in a bunch of random things because I had the time to. So I'm not gonna lie though, there were multiple moments where I was just in a creative funk and just in a rut with it, because I know a lot of people weren't necessarily comfortable going out and shooting or producing things in the way that they had done prior because of Corona and the, you know, social distancing and all of the, you know, regulations that are involved with that. And I think a lot of people were also just scared, to be honest, and at one point I started to get really scared as well. So before a lot of things settled in, I started a passion project that I had thought up when I was in acting school. Damn, it's like 7 years now. So when I was in acting school about 7 years ago, I had this idea that I thought was bomb, but my best friend at the time, her and her boyfriend were like, okay bitch, do it. Like it sounds stupid, but they didn't actually say that, but they did laugh at me. But it's what you have hopefully seen on my page, which is called Songologues, where I essentially try to do some sort of monologue out of a song, and I wanted to make it somewhat theatrical, and I'm currently working on expanding that and collaborating with other creatives to make those happen. So if you are interested in working with me, please feel free to send me an email, send me a DM. All of my social media things and contact info are in the description bar box situation, so I'm definitely open to that. So yeah, that's what I started, and I'm really proud of, and that I'm going to continue to expand upon. I started making merch for Vicious Dumpling. So if you don't know, Vicious Dumpling is my art. Yeah, so Vicious Dumpling is my art, and I created merch for that. I will also link that down below. So I have like t-shirts, hoodies, crew necks. The crew necks and the hoodies are my favorite just because I love wearing oversized things, and I used to hate when it was cold, but I don't actually hate when it's cold. I do like when it's cold, but I only like when it's cold if I'm prepared for it to be cold. So here you are, prepared for it to be cold. I believe because it is through Teespring, all of those items only go up to about 2x, but if and when I find a distributor that I can work with, and when the sales get to where they need to be, I will definitely be looking to expanding that even further, because I do have design ideas that I'm going to whip up, but I just need to kind of be able to distribute my energy appropriately. Yeah, so I started that. I started a few art pieces that I never finished, but that's neither here nor there. We're gonna work on them regardless. And yeah, so all these things happened. Now on the flip side, those were very happy, very proud of things. Other things that I'm not necessarily ecstatic that happened, but I am grateful for the experience because I've grown a lot in the last year. I'm definitely not the same person that I was at the beginning of this year. So a multitude of things occurred One being that my sister, she ended up getting COVID, and so I had her quarantine with me because she was living with my mom and my grandmother, and I didn't want anything to happen to them. So the second my sister said that she was showing symptoms, that she wasn't feeling well, I rearranged my office because I have a pull-out couch, so I rearranged everything and threw a bunch of stuff in the closet to make space for her, and got everything set up for her because I just didn't, because my mom was still working. It was just very complicated, and I don't want anybody, especially anybody watching this, to think that just because, you know, just, okay, if you have the circumstance where your job isn't shutting down, you can't apply for unemployment because you weren't furloughed, you weren't let go, and you can't get unemployment if you just quit a job. You don't really have an option but to go to work every day. How else are you going to pay your bills? You know, there was no real rent relief. And that's just that. Rent relief, just, you got, like, if you were lucky to get picked when the LA County decided that they were going to go ahead with some form of rent relief, that was basically a raffle, and you still had to make sure that you got approved for that. So even then, like, mind you, I recently applied, and I recently saw that my application was accepted, but you then had to submit documents. I'm still waiting to see if my application was approved after submitting those documents, and there's still a chance that it might not get approved. I just, you know, putting all the good energy out there that regardless, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. If not, then it's going to be worked out at the end of the day. Rent's going to be paid, everything's going to be sorted, I'm going to have a roof over my head, and that's that. Like, you know, I have to just trust and believe that. So with that being said, my mom still had to go to work, she still had a job to go to, the job was not shut down. My grandma still living in that house, she has nowhere to go, like, it's her house. So I told my sister, like, let's go. And mind you, my sister works at a hospital, so that was just inevitable. It could have happened to literally anybody, and I have mad respect for anybody in the healthcare industry, especially at the moment, because shit is wild and no one knows, and especially at that time, no one really knew how to handle it, you got new information every day. So their protocols as far as the hospital is concerned have just completely flipped, so it can be a very strenuous circumstance to be in. So kudos. Anyway, I had her stay with me. She was with me for, like, I want to say, like, almost 2 weeks. She had reached out to her doctor as well as her boss, let them know what was happening, and then later on I started to show a little bit of symptoms. My mom started to show symptoms, and then my grandma started to show symptoms. So once my sister was all healthy and better from my place, and I was feeling better as well, because throughout that time it was very much a mind fuck for me, because I feel like I'm never gonna get monetized because I just curse. Like, that's just, it is what it is. YouTube, you need to get over it. But it's just always it just really messes with you, because you hear so many things about casualties and organs stop functioning, or you'll never regain the sense of this, that, or the other, or nothing will be the same, kind of thing, and you honestly start to feel defeated and like you can't get better, when that's not the case. You can definitely get better. Is it the case for everybody? Unfortunately, no. But I was very much caught up in a whole whirlwind of things. Like, I went down the rabbit hole of conspiracy theories and, like, government things, and it was not healthy for my mental health. I'm not gonna lie, because I went in, like, I was luckily able to, like, get myself out of it and have other people help me get out of it, but it was going down this, like, I'm questioning literally everything, and I still do, but just definitely not to that extent where I'm letting it affect me in that way, because I still have to, like, live my life. I have to worry about things that are in my control, and none of that was within my control. So because I was letting it all affect me, I started to have panic attacks. I have never before had panic attacks like I have in this last year. If I ever thought I had a panic attack, it never compared to what I was experiencing. And it was a lot. It didn't happen every day, but just knowing that it had happened and being scared of it happening again was enough, and has been enough to have an effect on me. So luckily, okay. So luckily, my sister was with me when one of them occurred. I had to call a friend of mine who, bless her, she has a YouTube channel. Her name is Princess, and her YouTube channel is called the Cancerian channel, and she does a lot of like tarot readings, and she's great. I love her. She's been there for me consistently, especially when I really need her, and to the point where I feel bad because I'm like, I don't want to be this person that just feels like, I don't want to feel like I'm leeching off of you, because that's just, I don't want to be anybody's burden. But when I tell you that she's been like one of the solid foundations to help me continuously get through this year. I highly recommend watching her videos, whether you're astrological signs Cancer or not. It's still relevant, I feel, and check her out if you feel like that's something that you're interested in. Definitely her, I'll link her YouTube in the description bar as well. So I had her like calm me through it through one of my little episodes. Even before then, I completely weaned myself off of weed. I used to smoke. Prior to moving into my last place, I would smoke. I would have timers set. I would have, okay, I'm going to smoke right after I eat dinner, and then a couple hours after I eat dinner, I'm going to smoke again. And so that was my thing of things. And then once I moved into my new place, I wasn't smoking that often. And then once quarantine happened, I was smoking like maybe one spliff a day. But it got to the point where I just couldn't anymore without having a panic attack, or without feeling so much anxiety. Like my heart, I could hear my heartbeat so loud, and it would stress me out. So I had completely weaned myself off of that, just to lessen any panic attacks effects, or any chances of, to lessen any chances of me having a panic attack. And being sober to that capacity has been an interesting experience. There's definitely been moments where I want to smoke, but I just don't, and I was definitely one of those functional stoners anyway. I was one of those people who just hated to smoke just to sit down and not do anything. Like, I wanted to smoke while painting, or smoke while, or like being high while drawing, or being high while editing, or doing something. I just didn't like to just sit with my thoughts and my feelings and the sensations and things, It doesn't matter now, it's over. Yeah, so there was that. Anyway, so while my sister was with me and all the panic attacks and things were happening, because I started showing symptoms and I was really stressed. I thought I was gonna die. I thought I was trying to come to terms with my mortality. I had just reconnected with my father, so there was that. It was just a very heavily emotional time. I was very close to ending things with Charles, okay? There was a lot going on, and yeah, so plus on top of that too, how did I completely forget? It's just all the marches, the protests, the riots, all of this, just the tension within the political atmosphere, socially, everything was so palpable for me, and was not something that I found easily navigatable. So I had to kind of adjust and maneuver through all of that. So yeah, so once my sister got better, once I got better, once her doctor and her boss both said that, you know, she's cleared to go back to work, cleared to, you know, go back home, I took her back home so she could take care of my mom and my grandma. The day that my sister went back home was the day that they ended up taking her to, was the day that her and my mom took my grandmother to the hospital. My grandma did test positive for corona. Prior to that, they said that she just had pneumonia. Okay, I get it. They said that she had tested positive for corona, but prior to that, they said that it was just pneumonia. It got to the point where they couldn't give her a specific medication to fight the virus because of her kidneys, and ultimately she did succumb to her sicknesses. So she passed away on the 21st of July. The last time I spoke to her was on my birthday. And yeah, she was so funny. She's just telling me how she wasn't in the hospital at that time, but she was like lying in bed. She was sick. My mom was just trying to make sure she was like hydrated and things. And my my grandma was just telling me that when she gets better, she's gonna give me a birthday present. And I was just, Grandma, I just want you to get better. I don't want you to worry about my birthday. Just get better. But yeah, that whole time period was very stressful. July was a very heavy month for me, and we're still getting over it. I don't think you ever really get over it. I think grief is an interesting, it's interesting, especially when you haven't necessarily experienced it so close to you. You know, you haven't had a loss or experienced a loss of somebody who raised you. And she and I had a interesting relationship, but she was definitely pivotal to my upbringing. So I have to appreciate her for that, and I always will. So that happened. And I went, like, August was a blur, to be honest. August was just, I can't even tell you what happened in August. I think I might have gone to the studio for the first time in August. Yeah, so one of the things since quarantine happened is I decided I want to dabble into a bunch of different things out of my comfort zone, and one of them was I wanted to take making music seriously and actually doing vocal lessons. And so yeah, I found Eric Arceneaux. I don't know how to say your last name, bro. I'm sorry. But I'll link his YouTube videos down below because that's where I found him. I found him on YouTube, and he is an amazing vocal coach. And he teaches alongside Trina Bordere. I literally have no idea how to say her last name either. I'm so sorry. It's these Creoles. But Trina is a breathwork gyrokinesis instructor, and so I started watching Eric's videos on YouTube. I got his breathing bootcamp class off of his Udemy website situation. He does like it's like an online course that you can take, and yeah, I just really wanted to get over, and still do, honestly, because it's something that I'm still working on. I want to get over my fear of public singing. I was always very intimidated by the fact that my dad's side of the family were always so musically inclined and very talented and gifted at what they did and successful in doing what they are doing. Whereas I'm like, that's cute. I'm just gonna stick to acting because y'all don't really know who I am today. Whereas when you're singing, that's genuinely you and your voice. So yeah, I didn't necessarily feel comfortable exposing myself like that. So now I'm trying to just get over myself, especially because I had a relationship with somebody, and when I say relationship, I don't want y'all to think like it's strictly like a sexual situation, because it's not. But I had a relationship with somebody who, you know, I want to say I'm close to, but right now it's just a weird vibe. But this person would make comments about my singing, and I tried not to take it personally, but I did take it personally, you know. I was really sensitive about that, and I never really communicated my sensitivity about it, so it's not necessarily this person's fault, but it did hit home. So I have then more so took it upon myself to just get the fuck over myself and just do it. So I went to the studio for the first time. I don't remember when exactly that was. I think that might have been August. I think it was August. Who and Lord, I was trash. And no wonder homeboy ain't set up another time for me to go back there, because I was what? Trash. We ain't doing that. Well, I mean, we're gonna do it again, but I'm not trying to set myself up like that again. No. So we're working on it. And I signed up. I took 2 different online courses with Trina and Eric, and so I feel like I've improved significantly just because of those 2 courses. And as long as I'm consistent with the work, then it's just gonna be like leaps and bounds. So there's that. That was August. September was mainly me stressing because we had no more of the extra unemployment, so I was starting to do Postmates again. I think I started Instacart at that time. It was a lot. I also had to plan my move because I was set to move mid-October, so I was looking for places. It was just a whole stressful ass situation. October, as you can see, I've moved. I'm no longer in LA. I'm a little bit outside of LA, so there's that. And I'm still settling in, to be honest. I'm still settling into my new place. I still have a lot of stuff to organize and unpack and get together, and maybe I can show y'all what's up with that, and whenever that's together. I'm now a plant mom. I would emotionally spend on plants whenever I was feeling down about life, and I felt a lot better, but unfortunately since I've moved, I have killed quite a few of them, just because once I moved I was just as stressed, even more stressed. Still am stressed and working on how to address that stress. October was me just moving and settling in. Same with early November. And yeah, And then my grandfather passed away. I said that's so weird. Let me start over again. Okay, so I want to say October. What happened in October? Other than me moving, not much. So October was just literally filled with me moving, stressing about me moving. November was me trying to settle in. Oh yes, I reconnected more heavily with my baby, my boo-boo, my oldest friend. This is my ride or die, day one, A1 day one. Oh, my baby girl. We've been friends. She's literally the only person, because I hate saying best friend. I had one person who I called my best friend, and it literally ruined. She ruined my idea of best friend. Like I don't ever want to put that much weight on a relationship or a friendship. But if I was to call anybody a best friend, it would be my baby girl Valerie, and that's because, like, regardless of whatever we got going on in our life, whatever, you know, fate just has us come back together every single time. There was a couple years in us knowing each other where we didn't talk, and it was because we didn't want to talk to each other. She had her own thing going on, I had my own thing going on, and that was that. But it didn't mean that we didn't have any love for each other. It didn't mean that we didn't hope the best for each other. But that's just the way it was. That's just the way life was going. But I now live very close to her, so I'm really excited about that. That's my boo. So she came and helped me get this place basically all the way together. And we're not all the way together yet, but it would not be where it's at the moment, like the structure of it, if she was not here to help me. And so I am so grateful, so incredibly grateful for her for that. So there's that, and we also share a mutual interest in plant children. So yes. What else? Oh yeah. So since I'm a lot, not really, but I am technically closer to where my family lives anyway. I made more of an effort to see them, especially since my grandma's passed. And my grandma was definitely the pillar of the family dynamic. So I go see them more often. I decided that it was time that I went to go see my grandfather, because I hadn't seen him in about 5 years, and he knew that. He mentioned that when I did see him. So yeah, and that was definitely a heartwarming experience, because that experience ended up being the last time I was going to see him unknowingly at that time, because he did pass about a week ago, maybe a little over a week ago now. So on the 18th of November is when he passed, which it was heavy, but it wasn't necessarily unexpected on my end. So I'm just happy that he's no longer in pain, and that he's, you know, he's taken care of. He's at rest. He's chilling. And he was very pragmatic about his afterlife situations, like all the admin of it. He was very on top of it. Like he was prepped. I was like, okay, grandpa. But yeah. So, and Thanksgiving was yesterday. So this year has honestly been a whirlwind. I can't believe it's almost December. Ooh. Yeah, I can't believe that it's almost December. This year has flown by incredibly, and it's also gone by very slowly at the same time. So that's interesting. But this year has definitely taught me a lot about minding your vibrations, and, you know, knowing exactly where you're distributing your energy to and who you're distributing it to, setting up boundaries for yourself and the relationships around you, and making sure that you're putting your needs first, as selfishly as that may sound. But at the end of the day, you can't help anybody if you haven't helped yourself. and getting in the way of any self-sabotaging habits that you may have, acknowledging what those self-sabotaging habits are and doing something about it, actively doing something about it, holding yourself accountable for the way that you're treating others as well as yourself, because you have to treat yourself the way that you want to be treated. And I feel like most people say treat others the way that you want to be treated, which is definitely valid, but you have to make sure you put in that energy towards yourself as well, and not forgetting to neglect yourself. Yeah, and then also just cherishing the relationships with the people that are here with you. You know, it's this year's put a lot of things into perspective for me, and I'm grateful. Regardless of the heavy moments. There's been beautiful moments within all of them. I would not be nearly as close to my family now if these events didn't occur, and I wouldn't have the relationship with Charlie that I have now if it wasn't for the events of this year. This is definitely the longest that we've gone without seeing one another since our long distance relationship began, because I haven't seen him since mid-March, and this will be 8 months, almost 9 months since I've seen him. Yeah, just crazy. This year's been crazy, but I think there's a lot of beautiful things that can come out of it. So I'm excited to see what else is gonna come next. Like I said, I'm gonna be working on multiple projects, personal ones, not so personal ones, passion projects and things. If you are interested in working with me at all, please shoot me an email, shoot me a DM. I would love to work on a project with you. If you're a producer for music and things, please hit me up, especially if you're in the LA area or if you just got beats and things. Please feel free to send them my way. I'm very interested in hearing them. Yeah. So that's about it. I want to say I'm gonna be more consistent, but I don't want to make any promises I can't keep. So hopefully I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.